said on time. Okay.
So we've really stepped up our public outreach effort over the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 years. Part of that is the school program I just talked to you about.
Okay.
We've hired a public information director internally. Some of that was done sort of piecemeal by consultants. We saw the need to really bring that in-house, to be fully integrated and understand what we do. So, a result of both of those efforts, both the consultant and the in-house, is the public service announcements. We've completely overhauled our website to make it regional and much more, hopefully, user-friendly and informative. We have a social media presence now, which we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I think it's Facebook and LinkedIn at the moment. We've talked about Instagram and Twitter, but those are their own. You have to be strategic about how many social media sites you do. What else? So we have actually pamphlets, booklets that we put together, and so it's branded with our logo. We've made a fairly significant branding effort recently, and that includes informational sheets on major structures, what we do, what our mission is. We have a newsletter now that goes out both internally to all the employees, but also externally. You can get on a mailing list and get a copy of it. Tours. I don't have a count, but I'm starting to lose track of how many tours we give of our main structures, which is the surge barrier, primarily the surge barrier, as well as the new permanent pump stations on the lakefront.
Right.
School groups, academic professionals, elected officials. We've given the general public, sort of open house kind of things. In fact, you can go to our website, floodauthority.org. There's actually a place on there where if you're interested in a tour, even if it's a community group, you can go on there and request one, and we will facilitate that. We had, just this Monday, we had the Corps of Engineers and Vietnam, Mekong University from Vietnam over, and they toured the surge barrier and a number of other structures. So you have to hit it, you have to push information out in a whole lot of ways. Community meetings, social media, hard copy, handouts and flyers. We're coordinating with Jefferson Parish, actually. They're having a coastal day in October over on the West Bank, but we're partnering with them, and I know the West Authority, our counterpart there, is doing the same. To provide information on the coast. Our police are active in Night Out Against Crime, so in both Orleans and Jefferson parishes. So they have booths that are set up. We have open houses at our facilities. Invite the public to come in, hand out flyers, hand out pencils and things you normally see at like a booth. But it's another way for us to interact.
Gotcha. Some good stuff. I'm based in Jefferson Parish, so I'm definitely interested in that coastal.
Are you right by the West Return Wall?
No, I'm right off of the West Bank Expressway near West Jefferson High School, the Harvey Tunnel.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Not well. I'm not as familiar with the West Bank, but I do know where that is.
So around that area.
Because there's a Veolia plant here on the East Bank for Kenner, I think.
Yeah, it's
right
this
by
way.
I-10.
This way, right?
That's
the wastewater treatment facility?
Isn't it right out by...
I came in from the airport, so when you're going out, it's to the left.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one I work at. I'm a wastewater treatment process operator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But Viola is the company, right? We also man the New Orleans plant too, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the day-to-day operations, so.
Cool.
But yeah. Let's see. I think I hit 8.
You had a question on there about power outages, I think.
Yeah, number 9.
Yeah, number 9. And I thought that was an interesting one. Because I think what I'd like to highlight on that is redundancy.
Okay.
Because it's not so much communicating with the public, because, again, we're focused during an event on the immediate actions and closing gates and so on. And our communication typically goes out in conjunction with the parish. We do press releases and such, but all of our primary facilities have backup power. The one you're here in right now here in East Jefferson, the second story is one of our EOCs, safe house, hurricane windproof. Orleans, where you may have been earlier talking to Jerry. The second story on Franklin that's our primary EOC there.
Okay.
Backup power. All the permanent pump stations are self-sufficient, so when something happens, they can go off the grid and run completely for 5 days based on the amount of fuel we keep on hand. So we have tried to plan in the Corps, and when they design the structures, the flood control structures, and even for our administrative facilities, we've tried to plan in power redundancy wherever possible, but also for communication. So, internet obviously is a prime one, a hardwire cable. We have cell phone repeaters in different locations because that's another one. We activate satellite phones during storm season with key personnel and at key locations. We have radios, like police radios and communicating between different structures. We have those as well. And then even for additional redundancy in certain locations at our permanent pump stations, because of the coordination that we have to do with Sewage and Water Board, because they're at the upstream end and we're at the downstream,
Right.
You've got a SCADA system in place that allows us to see them and them to see us. But I actually station staff use police officers as liaisons to be stationed in the Sewage and Water Board facility in case the SCADA goes down, because things happen.
Right.
Murphy's Law is alive and real. And I think I think there was somewhere on this list, but that is the reality. Things, and that's not being negative or pessimistic, it's just the reality that things happen. You try to plan for them as best you can and build in redundancy and resiliency to the system. But you also have to be prepared for the unknown to the best you can, and whether it's a lightning strike or something happens, so those police officers we use at the Sewage and Water Board stations, if the SCADA goes down, they can still call in via their radio, via their cell phone, however, and give updates to our stations to make sure they know how many cubic feet per second are flowing
Right.
or whatever is going on. I guess you can't stress redundancy and resiliency enough.
Right.
There's also about resiliency improvements during or maybe post-Katrina.
Yeah.
Did Jerry talk about armoring?
I believe so. He talked more about, I don't know what it was, something to prevent erosion.
Yep, that's what we call, or the
Okay.
Corps calls armoring.
Okay.
So it's not exactly hardening, but it makes them more resilient. So, for those familiar with Katrina, a number of the reasons that levees failed were because they were overtopped, and then the wave action and the water eroded the levee from the backside, which caused it eventually to fail. So post-Katrina, the Corps has, actually they're finishing up what they call an armoring program. So what that means is they took a geotextile fabric, in this case a high HPTRM, high performance turf reinforced matting. And essentially they put that on the crown of the levee and then down the slope of the backside, and then put sod on top of it. So even if our levees are designed for the 100-year storm event, but the armoring is designed to provide resiliency up to a 500-year level storm event. So even if you get overtopping, and there will be some flooding from overtopping, but it helps minimize the risk of a catastrophic failure like you saw during Katrina. The major one they use is that HPTRM. That's in place for us along the East Jefferson Lakefront levees, the main New Orleans levees along Lakeshore Drive, and then it's being finished up out in the east, and that will be done by summer of next year per their schedule.
Gotcha.
Where it's pure levee. And then you get into, obviously flood walls. Most of the T-walls that the Corps put in post-Katrina have a splash pad, if you will, on the protected side. Again, if there is overtopping, you don't have catastrophic erosion that goes on underneath. The water can hit the concrete and then drain off, but not cause that failure.
Right. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. Is there anything that you would like to reiterate or touch bases on that we haven't covered thus far?
I guess you lay the groundwork before an event, and you've got to build the relationships with both the community and your partner agencies and stakeholders before an event, because something will always go wrong, and that's just the nature of life and things that are designed by imperfect humans. But so you have to think through, if something goes wrong, what are my backup plans? What's my backup to my backup plan, depending on how critical that particular thing is. So that would be the thing I would stress the most.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I visited you guys' website, and you guys do